I didn't know how to become a film writer, but I knew basketball stars and I knew rap stars. Kobe, something he always used to talk about is like hitting those 1,000 free throws, doing your drills and shit like that. So when I first was getting into sketch, I was like, what are my free throws? How can I be shooting, do my 1,000 free throws a day?
I'm Charla Lauriston, a stand-up comedian, writer, director, and producer, and this is the Werking Writer Podcast, where screenwriters, creatives, and industry insiders share their stories of breaking in hopes that it helps you along your path. I'm so excited you could join us. If you like what you hear, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Without further ado, let's get to work. Welcome to another episode of the Werking Writer Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I'm so excited about today's episode. My guest today is Shenovia Large. Shenovia has written for HBO's A Black Lady sketch show, and she recently made her transition over to narrative television with Grand Crew on NBC, which is where we met. In this episode of The Werking Writer, Shenovia and I talk about productivity, about neurodivergence, about creating your own metrics, and basically how to become the kind of writer that you want to be. I got so much out of this episode. I really hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, here's my interview with Shenovia Large. Shenovia Large, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we were on Grand Crew together, and Grand Crew was your first narrative show. I remember you were talking about that being your first narrative show, and I wouldn't have guessed that that was your first narrative show based off of how you did in the room. I thought you were wonderful in the room, so I'm really excited to have you on the show. I wanted to start by asking you, to just tell us about who you are. Where are you from? Did you go to college? Who are you?
Yes. Okay. So this is a question that I always have to answer in general meetings, and I never know what to do with. I stumble every time. So this is me stretching.
Yeah, that's funny because I do find that people struggle with this very basic question in general meetings. Where are you from? Who are you?
Yeah.
Even for myself, it's something that I had to practice. I just had to write it down so I have a sense of what I'm going to be talking about. I don't care if that sounds nerdy, but I like to be prepared for a general,
No, I tried that, but I was so monotone that it was so robotic and embarrassing because I started recording myself just to see it, and I should not have done that because that really made it worse for me. But anyways, back to the question. Yeah, I'm a writer from Oklahoma originally, and I didn't go to school for this. I did go to college. But my degree is in business. I studied accounting and marketing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a writer, but I had absolutely no idea how that was going to happen or how to do that. I would just be doing it kind of on my own. I thought I was doing it. When I look back at what I was writing, I absolutely was not. But yeah, I didn't know how to break into the industry. And I moved to New York trying to figure it out, but really for a marketing job. When I was doing that is when I came across UCB. And UCB is kind of how it showed a path to getting a job in this industry. I started doing improv. I was on house teams. And when I got into sketch, that's when it really clicked for me. I love performing, but the writing, I didn't have to talk to other people if I didn't want to.
Right.
Not to depend on people who are flaky and stuff. If anybody's flaking, it's me flaking on myself. So I got really into sketch, and sketch is kind of how I was able to first break into the industry. I got the late night writers workshop at NBC, and later that year, which was 2019, I staffed on a Black Lady sketch show.
Amazing.
I identify mostly as a sketch writer, for sure.
Nice. Wait, so let's back up a little bit, just because I remember when we first met and I learned that you are a Haitian and a Haitian from Oklahoma, and I was like, those two things don't compute. I don't understand. So can you tell us a little bit about how a Haitian ends up in Oklahoma? Were you born there?
I was. So it's my grandma. She is a nurse. She's the oldest of 9. So when she moved, everybody moved. So everybody would follow her.
Aww.
And eventually everybody ended up in Texas. So that's how that happened. But I didn't know anything about being a Haitian outside of media, really.
Sad.
Yeah, no. And that's why whenever I met you and I found out you were Haitian, I was excited, but I also like said nothing. I've been like charged up before by saying it. Because if you look at me, you don't necessarily think that. I don't have,
You're a secret Haitian. Yeah. Because usually I can sense it. And I was just like, there's nothing about you that gave me Haitian.
Yeah.
Until you said it. Wait, I'm obsessed with this, by the way. Was your grandma born in Haiti?
Yeah. Yeah, my grandma was.
Okay. So she was born in Haiti, but nobody else was.
No, she's the oldest. So I think like half, there's like 9 of her siblings. I think half are and then half are not.
Okay.
I didn't learn anything about being Haitian really until I moved there for a mission trip. I lived there for 2 months, not really moving there, but it was under the weirdest circumstances because I'm the only Black person. It's a bunch of white people and this is like missionary work. And I started to learn about how that's problematic and also me changing my own religious things. But that was my first time being there. And I felt more connected to it and I wanted to explore it more. And that's what led to me being charged up. So I was really nervous you were going to do that whenever I first told you, but you're nice about it. You were like, I don't see it, but cool.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Because I was just like, I probably crushed your spirit. I was like, you're Haitian? Unbelievable. I was like, wow. Your Haiti trip sounds like my trip to South Africa. I studied abroad in South Africa when I was in college and I was the only Black person on this there was one other Black girl, but she did not talk to me. So I consider myself the only Black person on this trip. With a bunch of white people to South Africa, and none of the South Africans believed that I was American. Which blew my mind because it was like 2008, 2007 or something like that. I'm like, there's no way that you don't know that there are Black people outside of Africa. Like, this is ridiculous that you guys don't believe that I'm American. But they thought I was doing a very long 3-month bit.
The dedication.
Yes, the dedication. So your grandmother is born in Haiti. You're in Oklahoma. Had you ever heard of UCB before? Or was it just...
Oh, no.
Were you somebody who was watching SNL? Or like, what were you doing in Oklahoma?
Not like directly. No, I remember a couple of moments. I grew up in a Black household. Not to say people who watch SNL weren't Black, but like we were watching like... My mom instilled in me Black cinema. Like I know the Black shit and I do love that. And as I've been expanding my horizons and learning about Star Wars and shit like that, I see why people like it, but there's nothing like going back to that old like Best Man and Brown Sugar type of shit. What was the question? I'm like, what did I...
Like if you knew about UCB, but it doesn't matter. You answered the question. Yeah.
I didn't know about it, but I did find out about it through a video. Shashir was in this video where she auditioned. And
oh, nice.
She was the only Black person. So I was like, okay, we got a Black, let's go. She didn't make it. She didn't make it in the documentary, but then like a month later she was on SNL. So I was like, oh, okay. So this is like something. Yeah. It was cool. I got to go there. I performed with her and I've met her. She's super nice, but like she would technically be how I found UCB.
Wow. I didn't even know Sashir was in a documentary. Sashir Zameda is who we're talking about. If you don't know, now you know. But that is really cool. I consider you like a baby writer. I hope that's okay to say because the Black Lady Sketch Show was your first show. That was your breaking in point. Mm-hmm. And then Grand Crew, where we met, was your second staffing job. So I wanted to have you talk about like what your experience has been, because I feel like the experience is very recent for you about like from going from trying to break in to breaking in and now being in. So what has that been like?
Well, it's interesting to say being in, because one thing that I've realized, especially after getting Black Lady, is it's just a series of breaking in. Like I thought when I first got Black Lady, I was like, all right, this is it. We on. I'm balling. But then I wanted to go to narrative. I did another sketch job. I've done like sketch things in between, but I thought that my experience with sketch would make it so easy to go to narrative. And it wasn't a harm to try to make it in, but some people would be like, bitch, get out of here. Like, no.
I hate these naysayers.
Yeah. I had the sketch background and also me doing the late night writers workshop. I was surprised because it's a diversity workshop technically, but I was the only Black. I don't know. No, I'm not even going to talk about that. Mm-hmm. It's technically because I have
I'm not going to talk about how I was the only Black person in the diversity program. Let's not talk about it. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. We all got different definitions, I guess. But
right.
I would go into meetings and people would know that I did that and they would assume that I wasn't good, or it all felt obligatory. Like I had people say weird things to me. I had one sketch called Moving Rosa Parks, and that's kind of what set everything off for me. People saw it in the audience, which Jax Media was in the audience, which led to me getting interviewed for Black Lady. And it was a really full circle moment for me, because while I wrote that sketch, I was on a house team at UCB. UCB is a lot of white people. My whole team was white, except for there was one Black actress and then me. There was this other team called the Foundation that got to do a lot of race and kind of more edgy sketches. And then a Black Lady sketch show trailer dropped. And the fact that I wasn't interviewed for it, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how do these people not know about me? I saw the trailer for Black Lady and I went home and I wrote this sketch in like 45 minutes.
You wrote the Rosa Parks sketch?
It was like instantly. I knew the idea that I wanted, because I had these constraints. I find creative constraints are really good for developing ideas.
Wait, why? Let's back up. Why did you have constraints?
So the constraints are, I wanted to do a sketch about Blackness that centered Blackness or a Black character, but I was on an all-white team.
Didn't you say that there was a team called the Foundation that got to do a lot of edgier sketches? Were they all white or were they all diverse?
They had no white people. It was all...
Oh, okay. And they were at UCB.
Yeah, UCB kind of had this thing where they had the Black team. And for some reason, I wasn't put on it. And I was pissed, but also, you know... No, because they had really great people on there. But my team had really great people as well.
Who was on there? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. Chris Thompson. He's a writer. He's like... I'm really excited to see what he does with his career. The way he thinks, he's such a deviant troll.
Oh, I love that.
Like, it's giving early Chappelle, which is like crazy to say, but like the way his mind works, I'm really excited to see what he does. And he has some crazy sketches. And we were on the same night as them. So I had to put up my whack ass sketches and just get eaten up every night.
So it was a combination of watching the Foundation get to do these cool, edgier sketches and the Black Lady sketch show trailer dropping that basically ignited a fire and gave you the idea for this sketch.
And I went home, I wrote it in a fury.
Yes, okay.
And we got to put it up. It immediately, like the video, there's a video of it on YouTube, but it got like crazy apart. They had to just freeze like for multiple times on it. It went so well.
Give us a little snippet of what is the premise of that sketch?
The premise of it is basically Rosa Parks is being honored at this presidential event that doesn't exist. This is something that never happened. She got there, but she sat in the wrong seat because she didn't know where to go. And so my whole team is white people and they all have to be like, sorry, ma'am, we need you to give up your seat. That's not your seat. The people on my team were so like great about it because it's an uncomfortable thing to do, but everyone like made it their own and realized that. But they were super supportive because it's like such a.
I love it.
Yeah, but it was great. And then the twist is at the end. They've been moving this woman around this whole time, and it turns out that wasn't Rosa Parks. So it's like these white people think all the Black people are right. Yeah. And so when the twist happened, it like. But yeah, I'm really proud of that sketch. And then I would find going into meetings, having come from that diversity program, and then what people kept sending around was that sketch that people, I don't know, they thought that I was only going to, like I was there for the diversity token of it all. Like I had actual people say that. And then they're like, but I watched your sketch and you actually are good. So it's like, they think they're complimenting you, but they're really being, I didn't think you was shit, but for me, that kind of shit. Yeah.
I truly was wondering where this story was going, and that is not where I thought. That's not where I thought it was going. I thought it was going to be like, yeah, and I did this sketch, and then it got me into meetings, and it was amazing. And it was like, nope, I got into these meetings, and people thought I wasn't talented until they saw this sketch. Okay. Did you know at that time, while you were super obsessed with sketch, that you wanted to do narrative, or were you just very laser focused on doing sketch?
Yeah, I want to do movies. And this has all been a long con to do that. That's what I used to write when I was little. That's what I used to get in trouble in class for doing instead of paying attention. The only path that made sense, I saw Shashir go to SNL. So I was like, okay, sketch. So I wanted to do SNL. And then I saw Black Lady. I was like, I want to do this. And then narrative is like a longer sketch. And so it's all kind of a stepping thing. But I also am starting to love TV. So I want to continue to work in narrative. But yeah, I always wanted to write films, and it all is like a step it's a step in between. There's this guy, Joshua Waitzkin, who has this book called The Art of Learning. And one of the things he talks about is parallel learning, which is basically learning something deeply and then applying the essence of that to pick up something else super quickly. So I learned sketch so deeply. I have like this big ass spreadsheet that has like 1,000 sketches. I've broken them down, beats. I categorize them by different things that I track. I rank them like good, bad, what I think about it. And because I learned sketch so deeply, it was easier for me to figure out narrative. There's so many similarities. Like a cold open is basically a little sketch. In a scene, you want a character game, just like in sketch, you have character games. A runner is basically a stretched out sketch with beats spread across acts. So that's kind of been my process. I learned this so deeply that I can apply it to this. And now, after being in this room and finally seeing the other end of it, being staffed on a narrative room, getting to go on set and seeing how things are shot, I am able to apply what I learned. And now I'm figuring out how to write movies.
I love it. I love how big of a nerd you are. I love that you have broken this down. And I totally agree. Like when I started, it was with improv and the way that you break down a scene, the way that you initiate a scene, the way that each character has to have a want, how you create your game, how you A to C, all these things that I learned in improv, I feel like translated to stand-up when I started doing stand-up. I feel like when you break down a joke, like the premise of a joke, the punchline of a joke, all those things, I think they all convert. I think they all build a foundation to understanding how to write in general. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned this in one-on-one conversation that we had, you mentioned being neurodivergent or neurodiverse. And I wanted to ask you, how did you find out? What is the diagnosis, if there was an official diagnosis? And what has it done learning about your neurodivergence? What has it done for your writing and your creativity?
Yeah, so I kind of find out about it. It's kind of related to my first time being in a room, really. Also with dating at the same time. I had just a lot going on. Things were going great in a room. I had these metrics and I was hitting the metrics to know that I was doing good. You don't get a lot of feedback, so you kind of got to figure that shit out on your own if you're someone like me who likes feedback. But I still was like feeling crazy. I wasn't feeling like I was fitting in to this industry the right way. Like if I go to a social event and there'll be like a circle of people talking, everybody's laughing, having a great time, I'll be like, haven't said anything in a while, better contribute. In my mind. Yeah. So I say something and we're all laughing, ha ha ha. I say something and it's crickets. I like take the air out of it. I don't realize it till afterwards, like, why the fuck? Why did you say that? What's wrong with you? So that kind of led me to doing some Googling and looking into neurodivergence. From there, I just kind of pursued a diagnosis. There's like different schools of thought on like the terms with it, like autism 2, all of that kind of shit. I just kind of blanketly go by neurodivergent, but it would technically be autism and ADHD. Can really jump from topic to topic and interest to interest. I have so many fucking hobbies, but then I also will deeply go into them. That's kind of where the autistic sign comes in. But yeah, I feel like for me, finding out about this was very freeing. I would get so nervous before general meetings or any type of meetings. My first day in the room, I have to do all of these like rituals to calm my ass down just to say hi.
No way.
Yeah, I had to just to like, I would be so, in my mind, I'm just like, I'm going to say something and they're going to know. I'm going to find some way to fuck this up. The difference between knowing about my diagnosis and not, it's just so much easier to do these meetings. I like know that it's probably going to go left. Knowing that it's going to happen, it's like, all right, well, let's see what's going to happen. Like I worry about it less. When I was first in a room before knowing, you have to pitch jokes really, really fast. If you're like, you have a script up on the wall and everyone's pitching in their jokes, you have to be vocal. But I'd have this block because I don't want to say anything too crazy. So I'd be slower and not speak up. And I kept getting that feedback. Whereas this room was after me being diagnosed and I was free to say anything. Like, I mean, you've been in the room. I've said just stuff that's just no for pitching jokes, but also you have to let it out. You have to get past that because every once in a while I say something that's okay, but it's a lot of dick jokes. It's a lot of inappropriate stuff that's not usable.
A lot of dick
jokes. And it's crazy because I'm not I'm not into dick. I don't have one, but it is on my mind apparently when it's time for jokes.
I mean, dicks are hilarious material. They're really funny to deep dive into making fun of dicks. What are some of these rituals that you would do to calm yourself before the room?
Embarrassing to say, but since I already have snitched on myself, what are things that I do? I have songs that I play. I have a playlist that gets me hype up. I'm very big in like dancing to get out of my head, to get in my body. So there's like these tricks of raising your hands above your head to open shit up and walking around like that. Standing in the sun, saying
You
stuff.
sound like me when I'm doing any kind of like therapy work or something I know I need to do, like some bullshit that I know will save my life and make me feel better. But it's lame. Yes. It's fun though. It's fun.
It is. Yeah. Meditation, visualizing it going good. And then also just, I keep saying like, they don't have it out for you. They're not looking for like, haha. They're not looking for the gotcha. They want it to go good because it's uncomfortable for everybody if it goes bad.
Yes, absolutely. You know, what's interesting, Shenovia, is that I do a lot of these same things. I do at least half of what you talk about. And I've never been, diagnosed as neurodiverse. I do have a lot of anxiety. That is one of my things that I struggle with is anxiety. So I always have to visualize that the meeting's going to go well. I think about what I'm going to talk about so I don't get stuck and then get, anxious because I'm stuck and I don't know what I'm going to say. I have to do a lot of deep breathing so that my body can be relaxed, so that I can be at ease and be myself, because that really is a lot of what these meetings are. It's just getting to know these people and letting them to get to know you. It's not a gotcha. I think people really do want you to do well. They really do want to get to know you so they can figure out how they can place you. Because a lot of times if you're in these meetings, they already know who you are. They already saw some of your work and you're there because they wanted to meet you and they wanted to get to know you.
That's nice. I need a recording of that to listen to before I go in.
It sounds like you're kind of doing it for yourself already.
Yeah, I have like a little folder where I save screenshots of nice things people have said to me about my work. So if it's really dark, if it's a real dark day and I'm on the floor, but I got to act like I'm happy to talk, I'll start swiping through that,
Nice. See, I'm telling you, a lot of these things that you do, it sounds like I do them too.
That's why I have pushed myself to be more comfortable talking about neurodivergent, because I think there are a lot of people who are undiagnosed, especially in Black people, especially in Black women. It's the hardest. None of the research is according to us. It expresses itself differently in us. We also grow up in situations where we can't, like I couldn't throw tantrums growing up.
Right. Same.
You
can't be angry.
Yeah, you can't do any of that shit.
Yeah. We grow up learning how to mask a lot.
Yes.
Whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's at school, there's a lot of masking going on. Black women especially. I don't know about Black dudes as much, but I'm sure that's definitely happening for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned that while you were in Balcony Sketch Show that you had these metrics, because that is something that is such a good point, is that I've been in I think more than 7 writers' rooms, and only in one has my showrunner sat me down and told me, hey, this is how you're doing. And it was super positive. But there's very little feedback once you are in a writer's room. And I think in general, unless you're developing a project with producers and other people, there's very little feedback about how you're doing. It's really hard to know how you're doing. So what were these metrics? How did you decide on them? And how did you do?
I have always tried to find some type of path to follow. The feedback I've always gotten at work when I was in a corporate environment was that I have issues navigating ambiguity. I always need to be told what the rules are. And it's not that I'm going to follow them. I just need to know what you think I'm going to do. And then I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. I really be needing rules. And I feel whack that I do, but it's the truth.
That is so funny. You feel whack. I feel whack that I need structure, but I need structure.
It is what I just have, in my big age, I've learned to accept it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know how to become a film writer, but I knew basketball stars and I knew rap stars. Kobe, something he always used to talk about is hitting those 1,000 free throws, doing your drills and shit like that. So when I first was getting into sketch, I was like, what are my free throws? How can I be shooting, do my 1,000 free throws a day?
I love that.
For me, it turned into, I would write 4 sketches a day. And which is a crazy thing to have to do, especially in my beginning time, because I was slow and I didn't have a process to get it done fast. But it made it to where I could write them super quickly if I needed to, which helped me get my job on Black Lady. I like last minute wrote a different sketch because I was going to turn in 2 old sketches, but I like last minute was like, no, I want to get this job. So I wrote something new in like the last hour. But because I had done all that shit, I was able to do this. I have metrics like that I've been building with learning it. With Black Lady, it was how many sketches I could get through to the table read. Well, on Black Lady, you write multiple sketches a week, and we do a table read of them, and then those are picked to go to the main table read where like everybody reads them. You have the actual cast read them. And I wanted to get one sketch on. I was like, shit, I'm like new in this industry. I was sleeping on a fucking air mattress like a year ago. I'm writing on HBO. If I get one sketch on this bitch, like, so that's all I really wanted. But I obviously got way more. I got like 7 sketches on. So that's how I
love it.
I ended knowing that I did good. But
Congrats.
It was about getting them through. And then also I would try to write down anytime someone like said something, because it's so far and few in between. You got to take those compliments when you can get them.
I love that you created your own metrics, because I think it's something that is super important that we don't recognize we need when we get into a very ambiguous career like creative writing and screenwriting. Like I think that that's one of the things that I struggled with the most when I started, was just the lack of structure overall in terms of like, how do I structure my day? What am I trying to achieve today? Even when I made my first web series, I remember I decided that I had made one web series at first. It was called Funny Girl, and it was not funny, and I totally scrapped it. And then I realized from that one that I had tried to do too much, like I wanted to do like 10 episodes and all this other stuff. And then I was like, for my next web series, these are the metrics. It's like 5-minute episodes. Because I think the first Funny Girl episode was like 20. It was insane. It was like 20 minutes. It was like ridiculous. It's a whole pilot. I was like, if I can do 4 episodes, I wrote 6. If I do 4 and put them out, then I did it, So that was like the beginning, I feel, of me starting to like measure based off of like what is achievable for me and what will make me feel like I did something, basically, which is what it sounds like you did on Black Lady. Creating metrics is really important. And I'm glad that you figured that out, because I think that's something that I learned. I did it at first with my web series, but then like, I didn't understand how important that practice was going to be later on. So now it's something that I have every year. Like every year I'm like, if I did this, then that's a win. Just having some sort of metric. It's not about like things that are out of my control. It's about what's in my control that I can do, that I can measure to know that I'm moving forward.
Something else that you touched on with your metrics was also like putting constraints on yourself, which is something I'm like very passionate about. I'm like putting the constraints of 5 minutes on you. Because other than that, especially when nobody's asking us to make this stuff, we're like swimming in a sea of like infinite possibilities. Like what we do could be anything. But when you start putting constraints on stuff, you are able to really be creative within those and figure out like what you can do that's set towards a certain path that you put yourself in. I feel like Killing Your Darlings is like that, and constraints. Those are like the 2 biggest important things that I've been learning recently with trying to write on my own.
I even like you talking about putting your reps in, like just talking about the repetition and getting the skill down is super important. And I think it's just going to serve you well in the rest of your career. You talked about how you realize after breaking in that it's just a series of breaking in. And I really like that. Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit more about that and what you mean and what that experience has been like?
Yeah. So I would say my big break was Black Lady. And like I was saying earlier, sketch, I found it hard to move over to narrative. It was like completely different. It was re-breaking in, and it took a minute. So when I first had Black Lady, I thought that I would be good to go. Then the pandemic happened. So the pandemic happened like right after The Room ended, and that like shift everything. It wasn't 18 months until The Room came back again. So I'm thinking I staffed, I'm good to go, but really there's this 18-month break until I like staffed again. So yeah, I have to figure out how to continue writing. So I can't remember what philosopher talks about this, but like busy time and idle time. And I didn't want to like sit around and wait. I just took that time to get better at writing narrative, even though I stayed in sketch for a bit more after that. I have been finding that it's like a breaking in thing, and what you do every day It might not have anything to do with like what you're actually being paid for, but the work that I was doing every day in that 18 months made it so whenever I did get that random call with Grand Crew, I was like ready for it. Because it was definitely like, call, move here in a week. I couldn't go study and learn how to write narrative in that week because I was moving across the country. But the work that I did trying to break in made it to where I was able to be in the room. When I say it feels like you keep having to break in, now it's like when moving in film, it does feel a bit easier because people are starting to make TV shows like films these days, so they can see the transference of skills more. But now I have to prove myself as a film writer. So I've been finding that I didn't go to film school. Like I'm self-taught. I mean, technically I went to UCB, but like I had to really try to figure it out on my own. Something I've been finding with people in trying to figure out this film shit is people do not like if you do not know your shit. And I don't know my shit because I didn't go to film school for it. So it does definitely feel like a whole new breaking in right now. It's easier, but it's just like a different challenge.
Interesting. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk more about this transition to film. I'm quickly interrupting this episode to tell you about theworkingwriter.com. It's a resource I created for screenwriters and creative entrepreneurs that includes a blog, a course, and this podcast. Right now, when you sign up for the mailing list, you'll get my Get Repped mini course for free. I cover what agents and managers do, how to know when you're ready for a rep, and how to find the right rep for you. If you're working on breaking into TV, I hope it gives you some concrete steps to get to the next level in your journey. Go to theworkingwriter.com, that's WERKING, and sign up for the mailing list now to download the Get Repped mini course for free. You said before the break that people in film don't like when you don't know your shit. What does that mean? Like, what shit are you supposed to know?
I'm trying to figure this shit out myself. I'm here in LA. I'm able to sometimes come into contact with people who have written actual films and had success in it. And I have been finding when I ask questions, and now I know better. I think I was asking the wrong questions because I didn't know what to ask. But I would ask a vague question like, oh, I didn't go to film school. I'm here. I'm studying film, figuring it out. Do you have any advice or anything you think I should watch? Point me in a direction. And I kept finding, and I hope this doesn't get me like anybody who's a filmmaker going beat me up for saying this, but I kept finding that they would use it as an opportunity to flex their film knowledge rather than give me actual actionable advice. They would just be saying a bunch of names. I'm like, I don't know these people. I haven't seen the most basic shit. Like I just got into Star Wars whenever Disney Plus dropped, and that shit's been around.
Yeah, same. I watched Star Wars very late. That's one of the things I think about being like a Haitian or like a just outside of the industry. Like I watched SNL very late. I watched all these like really classic American films super late, but they wouldn't give you actionable advice.
Yeah, it didn't feel as actionable. But as I started trying to write a movie, I realized I haven't been writing movies. I mean, I haven't been watching movies. I've been doing TV. I've been doing sketch that it completely got away from me. And I thought I knew what a movie was, but really I knew it on a basic level, but I didn't know how to write one. So I watched 100 movies and I took meticulous notes, and I'm very into information architecture. I'm like a productivity nerd. I could say for sure.
We shared that interest. We nerded out over Cal Newport, who is someone I highly recommend if you're into productivity to read.
Yes, that's how I got onto deep work, and that was a key book that like set it off for me.
Same.
Love that. Okay.
You just gave it like a rap shout out for Cal Newport's Deep Work 2017. Okay.
2017 was a crazy year for me. I got kicked off of my parents' insurance because I aged out of it, and I was like, I gotta figure this shit out.
I gotta get a job.
Yeah, I was like, it's improv tagging in and shit. Like that's when I really drilled down.
Oh man, I just read Deep Work. I think like 2 years ago. That would have been really helpful in 2017. I think I'm a really new productivity nerd because I realized that I'm not as productive as I would like to be, or I'm not productive in the way that isn't burning me out. Basically, like the way that I was working burned me out, which had a lot of layers and levels to it. And so I had to become someone who tried to understand how to work better. But what would be actionable advice? If you met somebody now who wanted to get into film, what would you say to them that would be actionable and helpful?
Yeah, I would say you'd have to watch a lot of movies and read a lot of screenplays. And what sucks about giving advice is all of it sounds so obvious, but as you pursue it over time, your relationship and understanding of it deepens and you see it from different angles. And I hear show don't tell, and I had always heard that, but as I started breaking down scenes and seeing people show don't tell and then seeing the different ways you show don't tell, I was like, oh, okay, the basic advice is like good to go. There's this quote from Buffett that's like, you want to master the best of what everyone else has already figured out. So I would just take the normal principles that you hear all the time, write every day, watch shit, read screenplays, and do that. Because what I'm still in the middle of it, but I'm feeling on the other side of it. I had like 2 weeks ago, I was like on the floor trying to figure out this movie shit. But I watched 100 films. I took really meticulous notes. And I use this program called Rome Research. If you think about Twitter, if you send a tweet and you hashtag it, the hashtag, you can click on that and you can see everyone's talking about that. So this Rome Research is kind of like a spreadsheet, but it has that tagging feature built into it. It's called bidirectional linking. So as I write, journal, everything in there, I can tag, I put all my notes in there. I could tag for things that I was noticing, like, oh, this one had a cool car chase. This one had a great opening scene. I like the dialogue on this one, that type of shit. And I have all these notes in Rome, and then I click like opening scenes, and I can see all the opening scenes that I liked from the 100 movies that I watched. I'm really trying to figure out my voice. And what I've been finding is I watch things, I write down what I like, and then I have this list of things that I like, and I can start to see my preferences or proclivities, all the shit that I like.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I start from there whenever it's time for me to do mine. I feel like it's been a shortcut to finding like my voice. I don't know how to define it, but I've been having the feedback when people read my stuff. They're like, you have such a clear voice. And I'm like, I feel like I'm such a fucking ripoff. But there's this video called Everything is a Remix. Have you seen this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I haven't. But okay, I deeply agree with that thought, because I do this exact same thing. I just pull from things I like. Yes. And then it somehow is original, but it's me just like pulling from other things that I like.
Yeah. I'm going to send it to you because it's like really great. But as I'm watching movies, I'm starting to see that that's what everybody is doing. I'm super late. Anyone who's actually into film is going to be like, these people been dope. But I saw the movie In Bruges by Martin McDonagh, and that shit lit me up. Like, I felt so glad to be alive at a time where I could watch this. You know how media be getting lost?
Yeah.
I felt so much love from the creator of it. I could tell he put his like blood, sweat, and tears in it. And this idea that society flourishes whenever elders water the seeds of trees that they won't be around to like enjoy the shade of. There's something like that. I said it wrong, but like some shit like that said better. What I feel when I watch like a Martin McDonagh film, a Tarantino, the Coen brothers are like my shit.
I love the Coen brothers.
Yeah, that's like what I want. When I feel like the love put into their work, and it makes me want to put that into mine to continue to have people be influenced down the line with that. But yeah.
So how did you choose these 100 movies that you watched? And how did you structure it? Like, did you give yourself a timeline? Did you try to watch a certain amount every week? Like, what did you do?
So I have an idea for a movie, and then I try to find movies that are like it. It could be the genre. It could be this one has a character like it. This one is a bad version of it. And also, this is a foreign film that maybe I try to also go crazy that has absolutely nothing to do, because I think that's another way to really differentiate. Like, yeah, if you mix up your sources, people they can't be like you're
ripping off this specific one. Yeah,
exactly.
You heard that right here first. Mix up who you copy, so no one can find a trace.
Nobody has to know. But yeah, so I tried to find, and then I was watching like 3 a day, and then it got really bad for me because I got to the point where I would get pissed off if shit wasn't good, because you watch something like a Coen brother film and then something bad, it would just make me mad. So I had to start going for like the best of the best. So I would go to like best movies by this if I need something that's like a for sure good type of thing. But yeah, I just tried to watch everything.
Okay. And you've completed your goal of watching 100 movies? Oh
yeah, I'm past that now. I like did it, and I watched them as I was doing the development of the movie that I'm writing, and then I keep doing it. But I think with every movie that I write, I would probably watch 100 movies each time.
Oh wow!
I think so.
How long did it take you to watch 100 movies?
Well, unlike you, I am criminally single and
Yes.
unemployed. So
I don't know if it's a crime.
I think it should be illegal. I'm a catch, damn it.
You gotta tell him. You gotta tell him. Okay.
But yeah, so I would just watch him. I could do 3 or 4 a day.
Okay, so I don't know how long that took, but like.
Oh yeah, I don't know. How long are movies?
A couple of months.
Oh no, how long it took?
We have to do the math. 100 divided by 3. I'm doing it right now. 100 divided by 3 is 33. So that took you about a month.
Yeah, I would say probably like a month and a half.
Yeah, to watch 100 movies if you do it every single day.
It felt like it would take a lot longer, but when you ain't got a boo, you know.
When you ain't got a boo. Well, I say use up that time. When I didn't have a boo, that was my most productive time. And now I've had to like figure out ways to like essentially forget about my boo so that I can get to work. So where are you in your film process? Have you written a feature yet? Are you on your 3rd or 5th? Like, where are you?
Earlier, we were talking about breaking in. So I like to think in metaphors a lot. That's why I like have the basketball. What's my putting up shots is writing sketches.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do with this is develop a process and think long term. Every time I do something, I try to do it 100 times. That's why it's 100 movies.
Damn.
I wrote 100 sketches, break down this. Doing this is a good way to stretch yourself. Because when you get to like 33 and you start getting really weird and coming up with things that you wouldn't have come up with. But anyways, my long-term goal is to write like 100 bangers. So what I've been doing is developing a process.
100 films?
Long-term, yeah.
Yeah.
As I've been doing this project, the greatest thing that came out of it was realizing the film writer director element of it. Like all my favorite films are written by people who had creative control of both. And none of them were Black. There's never any Black people.
Interesting.
Now we have Jordan Peele, but Black women like who get to write, edit, have control, direct the whole film. So knowing that that's where I'm trying to get to, I realized that I had to like think long term. I want to make a movie that I want to make, but also have it resonate. Like you have to hit that spot in the middle that, to me, it's important that I'm like bleeding on the page and like embarrassing myself with what I write, which is probably a negative way to look at it, but like that's been the best. But I also wanted to connect with people as well.
Yeah.
So
So
right now I am both documenting what my process is going to look like so I can change it up the next time it goes around. And then I'm in the outlining stage.
Of your first feature.
Yeah, this would be the first. I technically wrote a movie when I was in elementary school. It's a ripoff of Spy Kids.
That's not counting.
Like I used to write movies with my little brother. But yeah, this would be my first.
Your first feature as an adult. Okay, so you want to write 100 features. What was it about that movie in Bruglia that you mentioned that you were so obsessed with?
Okay, it's in Bruges, I think, or Bruges. I don't know.
Bruges. Oh,
so
you don't know the name.
Yeah. I didn't go to film school, damn it. No. That's always going to be my excuse. So it just surprised me. It was there's darkness, there's violence, but then it's also so funny. Like I was rolling. I love when something is well acted, well shot, and not traditional. They flip stuff. The ending is crazy. The twist is crazy. It comes full circle. It like hits all of the things. Any movie that does that. But it just surprised me because I was like, what is this about to be?
Who is this by?
It's by Martin McDonagh. He's the same person who did the Banshees of Iker, you know, that new movie,
Ikashima or something? Yeah.
Something like that. So. Yeah, he did that. So
Okay.
It's the same 3, but this is first movies. They're all way younger, but it's the same three dudes. They like are Irish friends. They really fuck with each other.
Okay. So what was amazing about that movie was that it was surprising. Do you notice, are there other things that you notice about these 100 films that you've watched what makes a good movie to you? One seems that it's surprising. What's another thing?
I like genre bending, subverting tropes, because that's how I write sketches. I always would start with a trope or expectation or like something that we all do. That's how I used to pitch my sketches. I'd be like, you know how you go to a party and you're ready to go and everybody else, like, I found that that's the best way for me to pitch and for it to work out. And I like when movies like play with genre and twist shit and do shit differently, because I think that to make good work, you have to be a little deviant. Everyone's kind of in this homeostasis and something is the new thing. So we're all trying to make movies like that. But the things that really pop through and stick out to me, like how you get at everything all the everys, all the, how do you say the name? You know the name.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, guys.
Yes. Nothing looks like that. And that's how that pops out, because you're being a deviant. You're not following the rules. So that's the shit that I like.
So knowing the rules so that you can break the rules, basically.
Yes.
It's what it feels like it comes down to. Something that every writer who I really love and respect tells me is that they read a lot of scripts. I've tried to read a lot of scripts based off of that. Everyone, it seems that is just a good thing to do in general. If you're starting out as a writer, if you're currently writing something, when I'm writing something, I do the exact same thing. I look for scripts, I look for shows that are similar, and I watch them and I read them. It gets me in the mindset, in the headspace, and it helps me see what people have done so I can do something different. I think that's really great advice. Do you think you'll ever go back to sketch? Are you open to doing anything? What are you trying to do moving forward?
I'm just trying to get creative control. I want to be able to have an idea and have obstacles removed to be able to make it happen. And that's with anything. I don't just see myself as a writer. I'm like learning how to oil paint, learning how to sew. I have all these like random ass hobbies. And what the goal always is to be able to have an idea and as quickly as possible, get something on paper, and how can I remove the obstacles? Yeah. So I'm just trying to get to that. I want it to be whatever idea I have. If that's a movie, if that's a sketch, a short film, a clothing line, whatever.
That's the long game. I love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the up and coming writer listening to the show, or not up and coming, maybe a working writer, anybody who's listening? This is your opportunity, Novi, to impart your knowledge.
I feel like nobody should ever take advice from me. That would be my advice, but because I'll have you out here. But I would say, figure out what you like and then do that. And it's simple and super basic, but like when I found writing down the stuff that I like made it to where I know I can write something that it's something that only I'm able to do, because these are based on my background, my experiences, and the things that I like. These specific things are important to me, and that's what I put in. So I think people should figure out what they like, start trying to make it, and then figure out what that gap is between it. Like, why you made something, it's not exactly what you wanted it to be. Like, what can you learn from where that went wrong to put into the next thing? But you don't have to figure it out right now. It's just start and finish, and keep starting and finishing, and check in with yourself in between each thing. Yeah. I
love that. Thank you so much, Shenovia Large, for coming onto the show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this was good. Thanks for having me. I feel like I talked a lot. I hope I don't sound dumb. I'm excited to hear what happened with that.
All right. We're going to keep that in the show. Shenovia Large, everybody. What a fantastic interview. It was so much fun to nerd out with her about Cal Newport and productivity and deep work. That's something that I've really been struggling with lately. Working deeply, I get so frustrated with how distracted I get, how I find myself scrolling for long periods of time. I've really had to put the kibosh on being on social media for too long, because I am noticing that it is just ruining my focus. But I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. But either way, I love talking to Shenovia because I learned so much from other writers, and she's one of them. I love what she talked about in terms of metrics. I love what she talks about in terms of repetition and just doing it over and over and over, getting your reps in so that you can master the craft. And I also especially like really breaking things down into small pieces so that you don't overwhelm yourself. It's something that I always have to do. If I have too much on my plate, if I set a goal like I want to write 100 movies or watch 100 movies, I can easily get overwhelmed with something like that. So I'm somebody who will definitely break things down into really small chunks. Like when Shenovia was talking about writing 4 sketches a day, I would probably do 1 a day because I wouldn't want to overwhelm myself like that. But more power to you. If you can do 4 sketches a day, good for you. I like to set my goals somewhere where I know that I can reach them so that I don't bail because I might bail if it's something that I feel is too overwhelming. I think it's a good reminder to just go at your own pace. Do things that are challenging, that make you a better writer, that make you a better at your craft in general, but also to remember that you're not on anybody else's timeline. You're not in competition with anybody but yourself, but to also just, set your own metrics, set your goals, put the work in, like Shenovia talks about. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, get out there, get to work. There's no way I could do this podcast alone. I wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to our editor, Justin Asher, and to our other production assistants, Jemima Lariston, Maya Racole, and Nicole Edwards.